to the bonus level.
It was a dark and stormy night. The travelers approached the inn. And out came level 21 of the bonus level podcast. What is going on? I, of course, am Jack, and I'm joined with me, as usual, my co-hosts, Josh and Luch, and a very special guest joining us on this adventure this evening, the dwarf himself, Caleb. Say hi.
Good evening, everyone.
And that's the last time he's going to talk in character. And everybody listening, welcome to level 21, and you're wondering what the hell that was. And tonight we have a kind of a special episode. We're going to dive into the world of Dungeons and Dragons and maybe break down some taboos and some predispositions that you may have about the game that's as old as your dad. And we're going to talk about it. So that's what's in store for us this evening. And I just wanted to start that off. And hope, did you guys like that? Was that okay?
I did.
Okay.
Thought that was very well done.
Okay.
We're already too much in.
Yes, it's too late. We're already going forward. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. It's happening anyway. So Caleb actually has been a guest on the podcast before. If you remember, if you've been around this long, you remember back to our Halloween special. Caleb was the ghost expert that joined us for that episode. And you are back again, sir, with some knowledge and insight into the world of D&D as a first-time player, right? So
yeah,
that's why he's here. But before we get started, I want to know, and I want everybody else to know that's listening, had any of us here played Dungeons and Dragons before this year?
not officially, no.
Very little.
No. Very little for Luch. Caleb, you've never played it before either, right?
Nope, it was my first time. I always wanted to, secretly, in the back of my mind, but never had the opportunity to.
He had an image to keep up.
Yeah, he had to keep up his image. No, and I think that ultimately that's where a lot of people fall. It's almost like that you're curious, but yet again, you don't want to feel awkward, or you don't want to you don't want people to make fun of you, which is ultimately why a lot of things like people don't do, because they're worried about what other people might think, which is kind of silly. And so we're hoping to shed a little light on that. So if you're listening and you've played Dungeons and Dragons, then great, because we're going to expound on it and we're going to talk about it and the different things that make it fun and why we think everybody should try it, even if it's just once, to see if you like it, instead of just, thinking of it in a certain light. I personally had never played it before this year. I'm old and I knew it existed, and I always kind of wanted to play it, but I had this I had my own predisposition that you had to be, stereotypical nerd, and I don't want to offend anybody that falls into that category by any means, because everybody's got their own thing and no judgments. But I didn't want to fall into that category because of the same thing. I didn't want people to make fun of me in that way, even though I love comics and love movies and really love the whole, the nerd
Wait, you love
genre.
Movies? The way you talk about them is
okay. Well, what are you gonna do?
Right?
What are you
Which
gonna
is
do?
our resident that super nerd expert.
and like I said, I don't want to give the wrong impression, but at the same time, I played sports in high school, and I had a reputation to maintain, and didn't want to really dive that far down into the rabbit hole, because in my head I had this picture of you don't play Dungeons and Dragons unless you're the stereotypical pimple faced, big thick glasses, and eating pizza in the basement.
There were just levels to nerdom. I mean, I was considered a nerd because I liked Dragon Ball Z, I liked my anime, and I liked Lord of the Rings, I like Star Wars, like sci-fi, like any of that kind of stuff would make you a nerd. But then at the same time, if I ever had free time, I was out in the yard playing sports. But it kind of goes back and forth. But then diving down the hole of full-on role playing in general, I think is what really kind of gives
Turns
you
people
that.
off?
No, not for a lot of people, but I mean, that's what really earns you that nerd tag is the role playing aspect of things, where you can do a whole lot of things that are nerdy, but once you start like really pretending to be that character, that's when a lot of people are like, all right, draw the line there. You're
Yeah. You're being weird, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same as like in my high school and stuff. It was a lot of like I don't know, it was more like ghetto and stuff like that, and like you would never talk about like anything nerdy because you were always worried about getting bullied. So like me, I was also like Jack. I was in sports. I did a lot of combat sports, those type of things. So like I never wanted people to think I was like this nerd, but I loved like Lord of the Rings. I loved the fantasy. I loved playing like World of Warcraft, but I never told anyone. Like even the friends that I had that played, I would never talk to them about it like when people are around because I was just so self conscious.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, as we've gotten older, and it's like you get more comfortable in your skin, and you know you get smaller groups of friends, and then it just kind of came about that we all seemed to talk about it one day, and it was a good idea, and it became like literally seemed like overnight we decided it was a good idea to do it because it's like we all I guess seemed to want to do it, and then we all gave each other the excuse to give it a shot.
Well, yeah, I think it's more of like we have the you don't if you're doing it with your friends, you don't feel like, oh well, I'm not going to get judged because they wanted to do it too. So it's like I can't feel like I can't feel weird or like I'm going to get made fun of because like I step on a limb to be like, hey, have you ever thought about playing Dungeons and Dragons? Have you ever like wanted to get a try? And then you're like, wait, yeah. And then everybody's like, wait, yeah.
Let's be real though, Jack. It never starts out like that. It always starts out like, look at that nerd playing Dungeons and Dragons. He's such a loser.
Such a loser.
I don't know. I mean, you know, it seems kind of cool. I mean, well,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like if someone like forced me to do it, I probably wouldn't like fight back or whatever. But like,
I bet you $5 that you won't play it with me.
With me every week at on Wednesday nights. I bet you won't do that.
No, I think Caleb makes a really good point. You know, a big aspect of it is kind of where a lot of us are in our life, where we're like, screw everyone else and what they think. Like, this is something that I think could be fun, so I'm going to try it out. Like, who knows? We could have gotten into it, played it a couple of times, and been like, this is kind of lame. But
it's boring or whatever.
Time, like taking a chance with something that could be cool, just because you're like, who cares what anyone else thinks? This is what I feel like it's going to make me happy. So I want to.
First of all, Josh, you are the worst person to be saying this right now. We'll probably get into this later, but Josh does not need to be playing any of these type of games. By the way, we'll get into that later on, but he needs to stay away from those games. He can't have that much freedom.
Josh, freedom in fantasy.
A fucked up individual.
I think the initial story of how we all came about doing it is kind of funny. I don't know if you want to touch on that, Jack, or not, but
yeah,
the inception of our experience here, which essentially is why this podcast is happening. I think it was kind of funny and just really out of nowhere.
Yeah. Do you mean like how we all met and everything, or
well, just like the fact that like it literally just came out when we were all on Discord playing Blackout one night, and then you were just randomly bringing it up, and then I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm down to play. I'll be a dwarf, and then everyone laughed, and then we're all like, really though, we're down.
No, seriously, like we're gonna play.
And then not even a week later,
it's something like so. Like I think last year I was working with somebody, and he fit into like that typical stereotype, right? And like I knew before I even asked that, of course he played. Like, of course he did. And so like I'd always been like super curious about it because I had never played, but like, and we'll get into that, the whole like media and the culture behind it in a second, but it's been around since I think the 70s. Like it's been around forever, first edition, like even before that when it was like being crafted, the first rules and everything started coming out and all that, like the 70s. It's been around a long time. So, like I said, like your dads were playing it, like they were playing it whenever they were young. But the thing is that even growing up, like I didn't really have the opportunity to play because like my group of friends were, the ones that were into sports and, doing things like that. Yeah. But I just like Caleb, like I like reading comic books. I was reading regular books. Like I read all the Lord of the Rings books paperback like in 5th grade, like super young. Like I was like way down that rabbit hole. But then again, not wanting to be made fun of, I stayed with like the sports crowd when it actually came to, you know, socializing. And so I'd always been curious about it. But then last year I was working with this guy. I knew that he played. I asked him about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, you know, I did blah blah blah." And he started explaining it. And like probably that next week, I got the player's handbook and a set of dice because I was like, I don't care at this point. Like I just want to do it. It just looks really fun. I'm just going to do it at some point. And then I couldn't find anybody to play with. You know, I was like talking to Josh about like doing it maybe like remotely, finding a bunch of people that could do it that would be like able to do it like via Skype. And then it kind of like it didn't happen. So then it fizzled. Yeah. And then I forget what. I think I might even have watched like Stranger Things again or something, like season 1. And I was like, dang, man, like I can't believe I actually never followed through on it and started playing. You know, I bought the handbook and I was reading all the rules and reading into it and got dice and everything was like, I was ready to go. And then I just didn't start. Like I need to see if maybe now that we have like a closer group of friends, maybe we can actually like try this out sometime. And then that's like really where, you know, I started like asking the questions. But it's still one of those things like, yeah, you ever play D&D?
Yeah, but you were laying the seeds. You're like, we're playing Blackout.
You guys ever done that?
That's stupid thing. Nerds playing that D&D game. You nerds. I want to be a dwarf. You should.
Yeah.
You should be a dwarf.
You should do that.
All I needed was someone to bring it up. I was so in the moment because I didn't know if you were serious or not. So I was joking. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a dwarf. And then everyone laughed. I was like, but really?
I will.
Like, are you down? Because I'm down is the thing. And then
the thing.
Not even like a week later, we all met up and like
it's like that awkward like middle school kiss, you know, like wouldn't it be weird if we kissed right now?
Yeah, it'd be so weird. Like, we should, but like we should do it just to see.
Yeah, just to see
how weird it would be.
Check yes or no.
Yeah, no, and I think maybe before we get into like the culture behind D&D, so obviously like we had all never really played before, and so then we're stepping out and being like, hey, wait a minute, we don't care what people think. Like if we want to play this and it's going to be fun, and some people that I tell that I do it, some people are super intrigued. They're like, wait, really? You play Dungeons and Dragons? Like I've always like wanted to look in it, but I just never really like had the, opportunity or like didn't really know what it's about. And then the other people that are like, you play Dungeons and Dragons? Ugh, that's so stupid. But those are the people that are like, that have never looked into it.
Yeah. They really just have no idea.
Then they don't have like the desire to like put work into being creative. You know what I mean? Like if you're not like into being creative and like thinking up your own scenarios, coming up with a character and like actually diving into it, you're just not going to enjoy it. And that's just bottom line. So it's definitely not for everybody, but I don't think that you can sit back and just be like, that's stupid when you've never done it or never, even like looked into it.
It's kind of like the first person who wanted to set up D&D almost wanted to be the first person to leave because of his shitty rolls.
Hey, wait a minute. What?
Wait, what?
Well,
no, but I mean, I can completely understand like someone looking at you, Jack, and be like, what, you play? Because it's a lot like the same as when we found out, Sofia Vergara's husband, Joe
Manganiello, yeah.
Yeah, however you say his name, like finding out that he's a huge D&D guy, like you and him are a lot the same, so like, finding out that you play, finding out he play, it just blows people's minds.
Yeah.
I mean, D&D is definitely getting into like, a high
now it's becoming mainstream, right?
I mean, things like Critical Role and like Venture Quest, the TV shows that have, famous people playing them really, is definitely helping the when people play it, it gets better.
Right. No, that's the thing is that like whenever famous people are doing, whenever it's featured in TV shows, like I said, I mentioned Stranger Things, what a cult hit Stranger Things was. And it came out and like just took over. And here you have these young kids and it's set in the 80s and these young kids playing, they're all spending, an entire Saturday in the basement playing. It's, it's been 8 hours and they're all working on this campaign and, time's flying and they don't even care. And so like with that cult following you have all these people being like, hey, wait, that actually looks kind of cool. There's a Demogorgon and like the one kid, he was going to fireball him. Oh man, that actually looks interesting. And then you see it in other, movies, and now it's just like culture, right? You can go to the store. Caleb, you just found shirts at Think Geek. Like there's a
Oh, that shirt is so dope too, dude. I don't know if I
there's
told
like
you enough last night. I saw it. I was like, God, I want that shirt. It's
I
awesome.
mean, mine's doper, but
Yeah, the
it's whatever.
cool thing too is from what I've seen, like all the perception of like people that I've like talked to about it were always like really positive. Like thinking like back to like my middle school, high school days, like thinking even mentioning the fact that I like Lord of the Rings, I would worry like people wouldn't want to be my friends. But now it's like I mention it, like Jack was saying, people get really intrigued and like, oh, you do that? How is that? Because it's not like this. Because before it was like the stigma of like it's just a bunch of like nerdy kids in their mom's basement,
sweaty nerds.
yeah, eating hot pockets, and it's like
Yeah.
that's not the case anymore. Like you said, you have these
Hot pockets.
these actors and everybody doing it, and it's not the
Mhm.
same stigma as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, before we go any further, I think we need to like, for anybody that doesn't know what Dungeons and Dragons is,
Kind of do an intro.
Luch, like, why don't you like go over what Dungeons and Dragons is? Because I mean, we're 15 minutes in, and people might be like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. What is Dungeons and Dragons?
So
Yeah, well, I mean, hold on. Sorry, and I just want to
no problem, Luch.
go. I don't want to take your spot here. I just want to say, like, I mean, that was kind of my thing with, even watching Stranger Things, like watching them do it, it seemed interesting and stuff. But at the same time, if you were like, all right, do you want to play right now? Like, no idea. There's so much behind it that, I think Luch going through a big kind of start from scratch thing on us here could really, really help.
Well, I don't know what everybody, when people say like D&D, it's like a cringe, it's that cringe factor. Like I've heard of it before, and the only thing I can associate with it is nerdism. But
you nerd.
Let me do this properly for you guys. Let me get into character. May the god of Matt Mercer seep into my being.
It's high noon.
There's nothing to do with D&D. Jack, get out of here.
I mean, you said Matt. You said
Dungeons and Dragons is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game, better known as RPG, designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. I butchered those names, but anyways, so it's kind of like Monopoly. Just there's no pictures and words on the game board. They're all blank tiles. The person who is making the game, which is, that's like the best part about it, is you have a DM, someone who kind of carries you along through the story. Okay, he's God, right? And God's sitting there in front of a blank canvas of little tiny squares, and you got your little character figurines, right? You could be the boot, you could be the car, you could be the shoe. The car's definitely going to be overpowered. And you place your little mini on there, and God's like, you walk into a town, and then God will create the little town for you. Okay. And then you got three things in front of you. You've got a goat, you've got a chicken, and you've got a child. Okay. And now out of these three options, okay, so like for instance, we'll just pick a random race. We'll pick a tiefling. Okay. And he just happens to be a bard. And so he walks into this village and he sees these three things, and the player, the tiefling bard, will be like, what do I want to do right now? All right, well, I'm going to sodomize the goat, adopt the chicken, and buy this child. And you can do that. It's an RPG game where you can do anything you want within the boundaries of the rules.
I think it just scared off everybody. This is like level 2 stuff. We need to start soft because I think people are more confused than when we first started talking about.
I was just going off my experience on my my first program. But
that was expertise level D&D stuff. That's
anyways, it's a tabletop game. It's pretty much a build your own RPG story. If you guys ever read those like storybooks where you turn to page 1 and then you see a river and it allows you to multi-choice and pick where you're going. That's pretty much it. You can do anything in this within the rules of the handbook. Like, you think tabletop RP or you think tabletop game, you think
Board
money,
game.
figurines, a little tiny manual. That's not what D&D is. This is a tabletop game where you don't actually need any of that garbage. You need the book. That's it.
So
You got the book, you can play.
I'm gonna interject because I think we can go even simpler than this. So, Dungeons and Dragons is a fantasy story where you choose a character, you create a character that fits into a world, and then play through that world on whatever the quest or mission or objective of that story is. So, for instance, you in the game you can choose a myriad of races, from an elf to a dwarf to a human to all kinds of other things, and then they get attributes that you can use, skills that you can use throughout the story. So the idea is the dungeon master, the DM that Luch was saying, comes up with a world and a story and an objective. You then create your character, they're put into that story, and then you role play through the story using dice. So it's a game of luck, but also of strategy. And you role play through the story on whatever quest or mission or objective it is, while the dungeon master guides you through it as the narrator. And the cool part about it and why it is so appealing is because no two games are the same. There has never been a campaign that will be exactly the same as the one that we're currently playing. There will never be another one. So we're playing the only one that it will happen the way that ours is happening.
Yeah, and the cool thing too,
or to make it even simpler, it's called an RPG. It's a role playing game.
People don't know what RPG is.
I just said it's a role playing game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to touch on that, what Jack was saying is you can buy custom campaigns that are all the same, but the experience will never be the same.
Never be the same. Yeah,
it's just like you said, it's a choose your own adventure. Like, you guys, the people that you're with, choose how the adventure goes, and that's what I find extremely interesting about it. Is no two games, like you said, are going to be the same, but on top of that, like, no two people are going to play the same.
Right.
So everybody has their own idea of what their fantasy or what their role play and world and is going to look like. So that's what adds, even like the people is what adds.
Right. Your personality played on top of the character that you chose to role play as are always going to come through in the choices that you make and the decisions that you make as an individual and also as a party, as a group of people together.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think, like you said, I think is one of the main appeals, and being able to be creative, to have fun, hilarious moments that come up based on people's choices, based on the things that they see in the world that you might not think of because you're not them, etc. I think is overall the biggest appeal of the game itself. But I kind of want to move into, now that we kind of have an understanding, everybody listening has an understanding of what the game is, I kind of want to move into the actual the culture behind it. And now we're moving because of the I know Luch mentioned it already, but because of the movies and media, now we're moving it into mainstream, right? So now more players are playing Dungeons and Dragons than ever before. Instead of it declining, it's actually increasing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not it's not like because of the retro, factor either. The game is always updating. Right now we're in 5th edition, which I think was made in 2014. You think?
Yes, 2014 I think was 5th edition.
Yeah. So and I'm sure there'll be a 5.5, or there's going to be a 6th edition that comes out. Like, it's not because it's retro. It's not because the graphics are old, and it's just a fun game that people are starting to appreciate more.
And then with the culture, everybody's playing it, and then when people play it, they realize that stigma was just like a false narrative, and people are enjoying it, and then they're bringing their friends, and then so it's just the popularity is just increased because people actually enjoy it after they realize that it's not just some nerdy game.
What's another thing, and I completely agree with you, what is another thing that like this is taboo or was taboo until it really caught on, and now everybody like nobody has that stigma about it. Nobody thinks of it the same way. What's
I think
another thing that you
Star
can think
Wars.
of? Star Wars?
Star Wars growing up was like a super nerdy thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, everyone likes Star Wars or comic books, like the
Mhm.
Marvel
Yeah.
characters and stuff,
Comics is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like that kind of
comics.
thing. Like everyone was like, that was the nerdy thing. If you had, the T-shirts with, like me, I mean, I had growing up, my T-shirts have always represented what I liked. In my early teens, it was a lot of the Dragon Ball Z or Marvel or that kind of stuff. Where now it's mostly bands and things, and so like it was just a different thing. And then like all of a sudden, people were like, oh yeah, like Thor's awesome, Wolverine's super
Oh, right.
cool. I love the X-Men. It's like, bitch.
I think as a whole, just nerd culture as a whole is more popular now, less taboo, because people realize like why it was fun to us like when it wasn't like popular. Like
Yeah.
people realize that they like this because it is like an escape into another world versus like whatever your pick your poison, games,
But
comics.
even like you said, I mean, Think Geek being a store,
Yes.
I mean, it's a full-on nerd store that was never around when we were kids, and like now here it is, and we're like, awesome, this is perfect. It has everything I like.
And it's
Yeah, I mean,
all
and
in one
that's just,
place.
that's the same thing. Like the stereotype of your local comic shop 20 years ago was that like stinky, like the older middle aged guy, like he owns it and he's the only employee, and like
The
you
comic book
walk
guy
in,
from Simpsons.
yeah, and you walk in and he's like sneering at you because you're a kid and like what are you doing in his shop kind of thing,
Yeah.
and like that whole stigma that's no longer a thing. I mean, Kevin Smith, all of these people that are just such huge proponents for comics and comic book collecting and nerd stuff just in general, all these celebrities coming out and embracing, and obviously the MCU, the Marvel movies, and then now the shows. You have so many people subscribing to superhero culture, fantasy culture, because it's no longer a thing that you have to be ashamed of. Like if like there is, and now I'm older, right? So now I don't care what anybody thinks anyway, right?
Yeah.
But now it's a lot easier to have a conversation about something that you would have maybe been like, I'm not so sure if I should share this to this person because they're going to think less of me.
I mean,
And
I love anime, and back then,
You
if you liked anime, you were you were smart.
We
Well, it's been one of the funniest things about like social media a lot with Twitter and stuff like that, and Instagram, is seeing the different like anime memes and going like, and everyone getting the reference, and you're like, what? Everybody liked this stuff? Like I couldn't
Yeah.
find a single person that liked this back when I was into
Yeah,
it. But
right.
come to
like
find
when I
out,
was in
like
college.
everybody in the world watched the same show. Like, it's
Like when I was
crazy.
in starting off high school, I would Naruto run to my next class, and then I'd get made fun of for it. And then in
course you would.
college, I would keep Naruto running, and then there'd be a flock of other Naruto runners, and I'm like,
I honestly believe it is the craziest thing.
Oh no. Yeah, I that's unfortunately I can see a Naruto running. And now all I picture is Wraith from Apex just running around with his little skinny ass.
oh my god, yeah, just carrying a fucking 15-pound shotgun with
Mhm.
two hands running like it's a
Yeah. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah, I think that's helped a
with
lot
her
too.
no hitbox body.
It's just
Mhm.
Twitch as well as popular as it is. You have all these people like super into video games and super into things that thought were to be like nerdy or a waste of your time, and now you have people making millions of dollars doing it. I just think all of that like culminated into bringing back like the point is that it's not the same thing anymore. People enjoy doing things that are nerdy. People understand the value of it now versus just because you don't understand, you're like, well, screw that kid. He's a weirdo. He's probably in his mom's basement eating Cheetos. So
and then that same person's like, "What can I join?"
yeah, and now
Okay.
that person 10 years later is like, can I join your next campaign?
Yeah.
Oh, guys, by the way, we started a D&D stream. If anybody of you wants to join us,
Yeah.
we're top 50
top 50 D&D streams in the country. So
We
get on
did.
our level.
There's top 50, and there was only 30 people streaming. It was sick.
No, but I think that a lot of it has to do with and you see it in meme culture too. Like the times are changing of like you said, what's popular, what's not. You're no longer getting made fun of for wanting to stay home and watch movies and lay in bed. Like if you look at every single meme, it's like I never want to leave my bed ever. I want to stay there and just watch movies and be lazy forever. Instead of like before, it was like you better be going out on a Friday night. You better be going out on a Saturday night, because if you're not, you're a loser. Like who stays at home on a Friday night? And now it's like the complete opposite. It's like, you want to go out? You want to go out there? Why? We have Netflix and food and games. Yeah.
I think our generation just so more like it's just a time of acceptance that has never been like this before because of social media. Everybody can interact with each other. And obviously there's negativities with that, but I feel like there's a lot more positives, and just allow people to express who they are and like be able to, enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, enjoy doing comic books, or just doing the things that before were looked down on, and everybody like people are more supportive, and more people are doing those things than I think like that I can remember, at least like over the course of my life.
We won't get on into the political reckoning of how social media is destroying this country.
Yeah, right.
App by app, but D&D. So let me ask you guys this. So like right now we're sitting here talking about D&D and the intricacies and like what it's been us. How have you guys felt playing the game? What are some experiences that that you've had playing this game that really made you fall in love with it?
So I think I'm going to start first because I normally am the one asking the question. So thanks.
I thought you hated the game.
Yeah, you're our leader.
Yeah, thanks for
thanks, Dad,
for asking the question, Luch, because I think it's important to come from another perspective of like, so none of us had played. We all secretly wanted to. Then we started, and like Josh said, we could have easily started and been like, oh yeah, this isn't for us. But every single one of us got into it, and we're like, hell yeah, this is amazing. And I think ultimately the reason why we like went into it and then are now like in love with it, and we're like really like we're in depth in the characters and we're just like involved in the story and just super into it, is because we went into it with that innocence of like, we're not being judged for this. Like I can go into this and be like completely myself. I can act however I want. I can do a silly accent. I can get into my character. I can write the backstory and just be like all about it and not be judged. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that because of that, it's like, you blow the doors open and you can just like walk right in. You don't have to like maybe see like, oh, well, can I really like act like myself and see if I enjoy this, or, am I going to be looked at like funny if I, have a talk with a weird accent whenever I'm trying to role play my character.
Yeah.
And we have little moments like, we finally get Dave, who is another dwarf, to role play, and he like says something in a Scottish dwarfish accent.
Oh my god, it was great.
Oh yeah, it was amazing because it comes out of nowhere.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere, and we're just like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. So like moments like that, or other moments that are just like super super funny or like super intense. For me, it's
super illegal.
Yeah, has continued to be about like the moments of potential wins versus fails. Like, not the last session, but the session before, I could not get a roll to save my life. So every single time I was rolling, I was just failing. I could not get my character to do anything. So it's depressing. Like I wasn't contributing in the fights. I wasn't contributing in the story because the dice weren't going my way. And that's sad. But at the same time, the very next week, like I'm rolling well. My wolf is doing work. I'm hitting all of my arrows, and the intricacies of describing each thing, each action, and really being able to paint a picture. I've always been super super descriptive and creative when it comes to like reading and movies and all that. So being able to like paint a picture in my head of what's happening, even though it's something that we're making up, we're creating, but we can all like see what's going on, and we can envision it based on whether it's the map and the minifigures, or it's the DM, it's Ben narrating it to us. And I think that's the best part, and that's why I think we're all like, for me at least, that's why I'm like super.
So Jack, Oh, guys, I can't remember what episode it was, but we had an episode on toxicity in video gaming and media. And let me tell you, Jack. So we talked about the kind of player you are when you get mad in video game. So D&D is a tabletop game, and it is something that you can rage at. And so when Jack's missing these re-rolls, it's like his league self is right there. He's like rolls bad rolls, and he's like, oh my god, are you kidding me right now? You can hear like the mental keyboard typing in his brain.
So the thing is, I'm the barbarian, but Jack was the one who was raging that night. So
that is true. That is true.
For those of you who don't know, barbarians have an ability called rage that lasts for 1 minute and allows them to attack rapidly and have +2 strength.
You nerd. You're a nerd.
Do you mind if I go next, or does anyone else want to go first?
No, go, please.
I guess for me, on that same question that Leach proposed, is I've always enjoyed RPGs. Like, I don't know, there's always something about the way that I can just like kind of escape this world and like indulge into something different. That's why I've always like played RPG games. Like, WoW, I've always loved, Lord of the Rings. I've always loved that weird fantasy stuff. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's always had some kind of allure to me. And like playing this game, I've been so like addicted to like playing it. Like, I even started watching like Critical Role. I've been like so into it. It's just, it allows me to express myself in a way that video games can't, because they're programmed, they're formatted a certain way to play a certain way. So this is like I said, it should build your own adventure. So I've been able to express myself in my own way. I can act as this, this dwarf barbarian that I made, and be this character that's not me. And there's just something super exciting about that, and something that is just like nothing I've ever done. And I'm just super thrilled to be doing it. And then obviously doing it with your friends is even more enjoyable, because you get to see them enjoy and interact and be, their own character, and you get to see them, have fun being somebody else. Like, while you're it's just, I don't know, it's just something like I've never experienced before. And I've been having so much fun with it. And that's probably it for me, is that you can do whatever you want and be whatever you want. There's not like, you go to this place, turn in this quest, kill this monster.
Right.
You do whatever you and the group want to do, and that's.
It's, if you think about it, it's literally it's like writing your own video game. I mean, really, what it is, if you can envision it, if you can see what's happening, the narration and your actions, and you can put all these pieces together, it's like it's like watching your own movie that you're creating, or playing this game that it's playing a game through that you are going step by step. Like you said, it's not something it's pre-set up that's going to happen no matter what. Like, you make the choices, you make the actions, you make the conversation that makes the story go. So imagine, we're currently playing through a campaign. We're on like session 5, about to be session 6, and we've had battles, and we've had battles, and we've had like people almost die. We've had somebody die. Like, we've had all of these things already, and we've just started. And I'm thinking of like long term, we go way down the line, and we do the campaign, we finish the quest. And if we could go back and watch a movie of the whole thing, how cool the movie would be. Like, to see our characters actually like on screen, like doing the actions that we did, like seeing the fails and the funny moments and the scary moments whenever Caleb, your character, got gored by a minotaur like last session, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like all kinds of like really cool moments that would be really awesome, that if anybody was watching it in a movie, they wouldn't think twice about it, right? So like there's this that's where like the double standard comes in, because it's like, well, you'll go to the movies and you'll watch an action movie, and you won't think like, oh wow, that's super nerdy, I'm watching this movie, because it's a movie, it has movie stars. But like, you'll look at a group of people that are creating their own movie, that are writing it and acting it out, and be like, nerds. That's nerd
But the
stuff.
thing is like, see, D&D would be boring if it was the Minotaur comes up and he gores you. The DM, which is the most important part of D&D, as Ben describes, the Minotaur, leans forward as he charges in, his, horns pierce your abdomen as he gores you for this much damage. Like, it's the details and the way how it can be anything that makes it a really cool game.
I mean,
there were only 2 gores And like, Caleb took a lot of damage and I took wait, I didn't take any damage because I broke.
Yeah, but the thing is with it is like the easiest way to sum it up for me is that it's limited to your imagination. Like you can do whatever you want. Like that's what's fun.
Imagination.
Does hand rainbow.
I did one. I was doing one when I said
Same.
Imagination.
God damn it.
Oh, and shout out to our DM Ben. He's doing a great job.
Ben Farnham,
first campaign, Ellendale.
Excellent.
Thanks for all you do.
The most amazing time. Most amazing. And I think now is the time before he speaks, because he's about to tell us like what he's really enjoying out of it
for 20 minutes.
But this is what we're gonna do. So like Caleb mentioned before, or maybe Luch mentioned, I don't remember. But
thanks.
Josh's creativity knows no bounds, and he is truly role playing his character, who is a tiefling, which, if those of you don't know, it's basically like a demonic character. But he's a demon bard that has high charisma, so he's very likable and good at performance and persuasion and all of these things. And at every turn, everywhere we go, he's either stealing our kills, coming in for the last hit, or he's doing some weird stuff with either an animal or the local brothel in the city, which, again, don't get me wrong, this is his character. This is the character that he's playing. So it's fitting the actual race and class and his background. But last night the man bought a homeless child off the street.
For reasons unknown,
He purchased a child. He legitimately convinced a townsfolk to take gold for a child that's only 8. And we have no idea why or what he's going to do with the child, but he bought the child.
If we can, we're going to try to clip it for you and put it in there of just the description of Josh purchasing this child. We had no idea. We're all minding our business. It's the end of the session, and our DM, is like, Distance walks into an alleyway. He sees a couple people, who's very shady. Cloaks above their head. Distance approaches one of them and is like, "Hey, are these children yours?" And then they they're disgruntled at first, and then he describes that they are part of a family, and I don't know what it was in that moment, Josh, to make you say, "I'd like to purchase one of your children, please."
That had to be one of the biggest moments for all. The whole table just went wild.
But it took me a second. It took all of us a second. We're sitting there. We just hear, I would like to purchase your child.
Wait, what?
What? As we all look up and we're like, what the? And we have no idea. And then the session ended. So we have no idea what he's doing with this child.
But the point is, and the reason that I'm bringing that up is because that's completely unscripted, right? Like, so things like that, moments like that are completely... they're happening because of whoever's making that decision is like, this is what I want to do. I want to, for me, I went the normal route and I bought armor for my wolf. Like a normal guy would do. Cause that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that my wolf is not going to take damage whenever we're going to the next fight. And that's where my head's at. The demon bard over here is like, I lost my chicken in a fireball because I left her in a sack in my horse when the last battle happened. I need a replacement to carry my shit. Let me buy a kid. And it's like, wait, what?
And the thing about it is, or goes back to how no two campaigns are the same, is Josh was lucky enough to get 1 out of 20 on a roll in order to buy. Our DM was like, if you didn't roll anything but this number, I would not have let you have done this.
That was quite.
Josh had the smallest chance of getting this thing, and he did it. But if he didn't, if he rolled a 19 to a 1, and God knows what would have happened if he rolled a 1, it would have been a completely different scenario. But no, he's a lucky bastard,
and that's why every single thing is different, and why it's so unique just based on the people that are playing and because of their personalities. But Josh, what are your takeaways from it so far?
Yeah, so gosh, I have so much to say. Having 4 people on the podcast means I have to wait my turn so much more.
He's got a notepad right now. He's writing down all the notes he wants to.
No, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on my normal monologue here. But no, I think I I talked about this on one of the prior episodes, the fact that I really love character development in video games, the character creation screen. On World of Warcraft, my favorite thing to do is to sit in the create a new character screen and just build a character. It's like, oh, I want to do an orc and let's make this one a warrior. Okay, and I want him to have this haircut and this skin tone and he's going to do this and that. And that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy with video games. I've enjoyed the ones that have had more of that. Like Fable to me was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
That first, I think it was one of the first ones that really was like you had that light side and that dark side that you're going to go to. And you could try out. I mean, I beat that game. I can't tell you how many times because I wanted to try out every different scenario that I possibly could. That stuff was just incredibly fun because I think you had the option. I mean, and that one only had options to go good or evil, and then you could go mage or fighter type. So you basically had those 4 options that you could kind of dance around in there. What's that?
You could also go ranger.
Was there? Oh, I can't remember now. It's been so long.
Yeah, because you can get the demonic bow. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, there were a couple different things that you could do there, and so. To me, when I really, when we made the decision to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I looked at the 350-page handbook, and then found that was only a portion of things, and started just really diving into it, I was like, all right, what can I really do with this? And so that's when it was really taking the time to build a character. My creative juices were just really able to flow with this, to be able to. I mean, you guys don't even know. 1/100th of my character at this point because I have text files on here of stories that I've written that I plan on anytime that my character needs to tell a story in the game. I have stories already pre-written that I can go to actually be able to. So I don't just go, my character tells a story and everyone laughs and we continue on. No, I'm going to tell a story. Like it's been cool. Like, and I spent a full day just having fun writing stories and writing jokes and writing insults because my character is very big on insults. That's one of his spells. Like doing all that has just been so much fun. I mean, I'm kicking myself even at this point for not going back and basically transcribing every session that we've had so far, because I completely agree with you. If any of us were talented enough to turn this into an animation, like it would be an absolutely incredibly fun and awesome, like,
I mean, it would need to be cartoon. A TV series. It can't be a movie. But Josh, and like guys, when we say that we were upset about Josh finishing off opponents, like if he went in and stabbed him with a rapier and did some cool ass move, that would be awesome. It's when he insults them to death. Like he goes to an orc and he's like, "You're as small as a goblin," and then he just crumbles from sadness and dies. And we're like, "Oh my god!"
I'm pretty powerful. I just have to say,
your words are you literally bring the phrase, "The pen is more powerful than the sword."
They say words can't hurt, but they've never meant distance.
Yeah, right.
His words literally break their bones.
But I mean, I think you guys did a really good job of describing the fact of it is like we are. Honestly, if you were to sit there and watch a writing crew write, the next Avengers movie, that's what it's like. What we're doing, they just maybe those writers aren't doing as much randomness as what we are.
Yeah, and they're sitting there and they're going. It's not luck based, It's not,
Yeah, they already have very strict storylines of where Captain America needs to go, where Thor needs to go, where Hulk needs to do, and stuff like that. This is just. Okay, Thor has his own writer for him. Hulk has his own writer. Captain America has his own writer. And then sometimes Hulk's like, all right, well, I just want to go in and just bash Thanos. And they're like, well, let's see. Roll the dice and let's see if you get to do that. And Hulk's like, I rolled a 1. Okay, Thanos beats the shit out of you, and now you can't turn back into the Hulk again for the rest of the movie. Like,
that's the kind of way that happened.
Exactly, right?
They rolled in that 1.
You rolled in that 1.
So, I mean, that's really the only difference between the way that they're writing a movie and the way that we're kind of doing this campaign is we're all working together as a team to create this story that I would say, I mean, is more enjoyable than watching, some of these other movies, just because there is so much randomness in it. And then the fact that you literally have, some of your best friends that you're doing this with. You're not watching. I mean, I am not trying to take anything away from the Avengers or any of those. I love those guys to death. Like, I think they got some of the best actors in the world to play these characters. I love them all. I think they do fantastic jobs. But at the same time, watching my friends act out these characters and, seeing, because I'm the one person that has to do this remotely. So I'm doing everything by webcam and doing things and still getting to see that expression across the camera when everyone's losing their shit because I pull some kind of goofy ass move, do a nice little spinning pirouette to, execute a minotaur, and the whole group is pissed off because I stole the kill. Like, that kind of stuff is so fun to me, to be able to kind of bring in that little bit of spice to things. That's what I constantly spend my time, thinking about when we're playing, is what can I do to, help everyone, help break any kind of monotony that's in the game. Because there's definitely you're gonna have your ups and downs, the same way you're gonna have a movie. There's times where storyline has to be played out, where things have to be done. Maybe in movies they can kind of cut past some of the scenes where, Hawkeye shoots 50 arrows and has to go to the store and buy some new ones. We actually have to go to the store and purchase them, and he just shows up in the next scene with 50 more in his quiver. And we can't leave those kind of plot holes. We try to make sure that we don't, at least.
You'll pay.
But yeah, I would say that's my biggest thing, is just the creativity of it all. Like, I would really like to start writing this stuff down. I mean, it's the easiest way to freaking write a script. I already have everyone's writing their own characters. I could go through and tweak some things for people that suck at their job, if anyone did. But at the same time, I mean, I think that everything has been super enjoyable. I mean, it would be, I don't know, I'd like to get other people's opinions from the outside on things, because of course I feel like we're going to be biased in it. But I don't know what else to say other than that it's just been so much fun, just being able to create this character in this world with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree with pretty much everything that you said. I mean, the difference between, like, obviously this and the Avengers, again, like I said, is, there's no dice and they're getting paid a lot more money to come up with this stuff. However,
just a little bit.
I'm very happy that we're starting to stream this, because now we have the ways to go back, and we really only have to recreate. If we were ever to write a story, we'd only have to recreate the first bit, and I think we could. Yeah, I think we could come up with it.
We could sum it up.
I do too. Easily. But I mean, one of the things that that I was not expecting from it that has really been cool is the fact that, I mean, we had, what was it, our last episode that we talked about? Well, it was a big gaming episode, so we were talking about, I mean, how we play online games together with each other. Where we're all sitting in our own separate houses. We log on, we get on Discord, we start talking with each other and stuff like that, and that is cool. But at the same time, I think we can all agree that is not as cool as ordering 200 tacos, taking them over to Jack's house, grabbing some beers, sitting around a table, and actually in person hanging out together.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'll have to say, like, the community, the camaraderie is one of my absolute favorite parts. Like, I look forward to Wednesday night, like, knowing, like, hey, when I get off work, I get to, go home, and then I get to go hang out with all my best friends and play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I don't know. I never thought in my life that it would be something I would ever say or look forward to. So,
and it's true though, because all Caleb and I do on Wednesday, we don't say anything else to each other other than 4 more hours.
Yeah, we will. Me and Luch work in the same occupation, so we'll call each other and literally count down every hour. We'll call each other, and sometimes we'll even talk to each other in each other's voices and our role playing voices. Nothing weird about that at all. It's just, I don't know. It's just something so exciting to do, especially like. So anyone that's out there that's, wanting to play, like, take our advice and just go with it. Find some people.
Or just watch one of our streams one night, kind of get an idea of what it's like. Because I, like I said, I think, there's so much, at least from what you see on TV and in movies, that just it really does not paint the picture well enough. As good as even like Stranger Things did. Stranger Things really showed some, but at the same time, it's okay, so that there's a monster, that there was a wizard and they were going to shoot a fireball at him and they didn't get to. And I can honestly say, going back and watching those scenes after playing D&D, that scene is completely different. Like it feels completely different watching it when you actually know what's going on compared to when you don't. So join in the stream, watch like a session, see how everything goes, and then once you kind of have a better idea of things, you can make your judgment from there. Because like I said, I mean, this isn't for everybody. It takes a lot of really creativity. You got to break out of your shell and not just go like, all right, I'm going to smack this character with my staff, and okay, on to the next thing. What do we do now? Like, no, have fun with it. Like, explore. It's like they expect me to hit him with the staff, so I'm gonna spin around from him and jump kick him or whatever. Like,
Josh can use a little less creativity sometimes.
Never.
I don't think so. I think that's the best part of it. It's letting every single person look at the scenario and do their own thing. Like, how do we view it? And then also, like, how can we, teamwork wise, like, how can we work together to achieve the same goal as well? And I think that's ultimately like where I'm trying to like bring this back around to is for the people that, so like we've got given this like overview about it and why we like it and why we think people should like try it out. But like, I want to bring it around to the, again, so what we were talking about against, any sort of maybe perception that people might have about it, or, whatever the stigma might be. Every single day, there are things that you have in your life that you either change your opinion on or you experience, confirm your opinion. And I challenge anybody that thinks of anything, not just Dungeons and Dragons, but thinks of anything that they've never experienced or tried, right? Obviously within reason, because there's plenty of things that I've never experienced that I will never experience. But just in general, if you
elaborate,
no, absolutely not. If there's things in your life that
I would like to
you're,
roll perception on that.
that you maybe have always thought wasn't cool, or maybe you wouldn't enjoy. For me, like I would, just as an example, like I would never go skydiving, right? I would never do it.
Yeah,
I don't see a point of jumping out of a perfectly good plane. It's not that I'm afraid of heights. I just don't see the point. You can die doing that, and you're willingly choosing to do it. Now, with that being said, I would never knock it and say like anybody that did it, that's so stupid and like I can't believe you would do that. Like if that's how you want to get your jollies, like go do it, man. Like that's up to you. It's not for me because I've never done it and I never will do it. But that also doesn't give me the right to pass judgment on it. And so I challenge anybody that's looking at Dungeons and Dragons as this like taboo, weird, you have to be a certain kind of person to play it. I promise you 100% that you do not. Now, it may not be for you, and that's okay. And that's 100% okay. And anybody that says differently, that everybody should be able to enjoy it, it's just not going to be for everybody. Some people just don't have the desire to put time and effort into something that's that in depth, that takes that much, planning and thought process. And some people just don't enjoy fantasy stuff in general. Some people just like to keep their feet in the real world, and that's okay. But I don't think that you can judge it or judge the people that play it until you either try it for yourself or at least watch enough of it, like experience enough of it to be able to make your own decision of, I'm not going to enjoy that.
Yeah. And I'd just like to butt in here. I mean, one of the reasons that we talked about this and kind of brought it up was because of how much our perception of all of it changed and how much we didn't realize that we needed this kind of like we all, in the way that the world is kind of turning to a very digital type thing where most of your interactions with even people that you really care about and you love is done through text. It's done through, maybe Discord if you game with each other or anything like that. That's how you're communicating with people that you actually care about. That there's such a big difference in that, face to face, sit down, hangout session. That was something, like I said, I think in episode 1 of why we wanted to start this podcast in the beginning was I had that time when my brother was in town and my friend Matt was in town, that every Saturday we'd meet together for lunch, and it was no matter what was going on, we'd always meet together where we could sit down, have lunch together, and talk in person. Like there, and it became like this thing that, I did not want to do without. If there was ever a week that something happened and we weren't able to do it, it was like, we got to have a makeup day. Like, I need this face-to-face interaction. I think humans need something like that. Like, and you don't, there's sometimes where I feel like you don't realize how much you need something until you get like a little bit of a taste of it. And you're like, oh my goodness, where has this been all my life? Like, and we've been away from, we're hanging out. I mean, as kids, we all grew up in the time before social media and cell phones and stuff like that. Like, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 16 or 17 or something like that. Yeah, so my whole childhood was face-to-face interactions with other people. And then boom, social media, cell phones and everything came along. And then there was just a lot of time that I spent not really seeing people.
Well, and that's just another reason why Dungeons and Dragons was so popular, for kids and for people before, is because like that was a way for the kids that weren't going to be going out drinking and partying and, getting into trouble as kids, as teenagers. They were all hanging out in a basement somewhere. And that's where the stigma of this mantra, like, oh, well, you're not cool if you do that because you're, not going out and you're not doing that. But those kids, most of them probably ended up being really smart, really successful. You know what I mean? Like, because here they're exploring their creativity, using their brains instead of wasting their lives away. And they didn't care if they were being made fun of for it.
Yeah.
And now we're all realizing that none of that mattered. None of it mattered.
No,
and I mean, and I could tell you, like, even if Dungeons and Dragons wasn't the thing that we were doing, excuse me, that to keep up the same thing that we've been doing, just this every Wednesday that we meet in person and we do something. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons. It does, just that we're all hanging out together. We're all, communicating. We're having a laugh together, just spending time as humans, having fun and being nice, kind of building that bond between us. I mean, I think that all of us, our bonds have been strengthened over the past couple months compared to what they would have been if we wouldn't have done something like this.
Yeah. No, I agree. Caleb, you were going to say something?
I was going to say at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what people think of you now, because the majority of the people that I was worried about what they cared about me were completely irrelevant in my life anyway. So it's like we have these like 100%. Preconceived notions of people like, oh no, what are people going to think? But at the end of the day, who are those people that are going to say anything? Like, your happiness is going to be what's important. Like, this has brought a lot of happiness because it's just like Josh said, it's community. There's just something, like, it's been a while since I've regularly hung out with like my friends, and it's once a week we always make time to like hang out for a couple hours and play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's just, I don't know, there's no better feeling. Like every Wednesday I get hyped to do it. Like, it's just, and that's something that
it's something you get super excited for.
Yeah, it's like if there's one takeaway from this podcast at all, it's just just do what makes you happy and don't let other people's preconceived notions or let your preconceived notions like affect that, because you might miss out on something that's really fun.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, like you said, it's not, that's a life lesson that doesn't just apply to, something that maybe you think was nerdy and now you maybe want to give it a try, but just anything in general. You know what I mean? Like, I know my parents always told me as a kid, like, all of these people in high school that you're trying to impress, none of them are going to matter. You're going to leave high school. You're never going to see them again. You're never going to talk to them again. They're going to be irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter. And then I'm like, that doesn't matter. I still have to go to high school with these kids. Like, I don't want to be miserable. You know what I mean? Like in all reality, the truth is that like I don't talk to a single person that I went to high school with, like literally not one single person.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, maybe I would like run into or like chat with a few of them here or there, whatever, just get like casual conversation. But I'm not friends with or to keep in contact with a single person from my high school. Why is that? None of those people, like my parents told me, none of those people or their opinions had any bearing in my life of where I went after that. And I had all of these preconceived notions, and I, tried to fit in and tried to dress appropriately and do the cool things and be liked and all of that. When in reality, like I probably could have done a lot more that was a lot more fun and more enjoyable if I just didn't care about what other people thought. Bottom line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Amen.
Amen. And now, like I said, my challenge to anybody that's ever been on the fence about Dungeons and Dragons or thought that maybe it was just something that's either too intimidating to like get into because you just don't know where to start. There's so many resources online, so many videos that you can watch. You can ask us questions if you need to. We'll be happy to answer anything.
The biggest thing is come over, join the D&D Discord channel that we have. Holy shit. The D&D memes in there. It kills me. That stuff is hilarious. We have such fun in the Discord that if you're not part of it, like you're missing out. It's incredible the amount of fun that we have in that.
Agreed. And and so with that being said, like I think that again, it's something that you should at least try once. It may not be for you, but you should look into it. You should try it out. You should at least watch us stream it on Wednesday nights, and just enjoy a story. If you've ever watched a movie or you've ever been into characters in a story, then I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, because that's all it is. It's just storytelling with people that are making up their own characters and playing with them. So, with that being said, Luch, do you have anything you want to add to the end?
No, I think we hit all the marks, and play D&D. You won't regret it.
You might D&D.
If you play, you might regret it if you play with Josh, but
I don't think so. I don't regret it. Shout out to our very special guest, Caleb. Thank you for joining us this evening on level 21 of the Bonus Level Podcast, the Dungeons and Dragons episode, where the Minotaur that gored Achilles' chest piece was the final boss. and we have defeated him. Achilles is healed to full HP.
I am back to my dwarven ways, and
back to your dwarven ways.
Come check us out on Wednesday night, guys. Show these guys some love, and love to see you in the chat on Twitch when we're playing. It'll be fun.
Yes, absolutely. And that about wraps up level 21. And from all of us at the Bonus Level Podcast, plus Caleb, we hope you have a good week.
Yeah, later, taters.
Later, guys.
Audi. 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 Audi.